Elon Musk has said this a lot of times, where AI is potentially the new nuclear weapon threat, like more so than nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I can see that being a thing. Basic Ads Podcast in John's place. I'm John.
You're Josh.
Hey, Josh. Okay, welcome back for another episode. Last week, we sort of ended on dog training, and we actually wanted to do something a little bit exciting. I think it's exciting. We have Josh here, who has been a professional dog trainer for over 7 years. I want to ask ChatGPT how to train a dog. And see what its results are, and then ask Expert Live what he thinks.
All right. Okay. But in terms of asking it, like, how to train a dog,
Okay.
I think that it's going to give you an example of how to train like a pet dog, which is probably a good thing.
We will contextualize it.
Yep.
I think majority of people have a pet dog and not a working dog, yes. So
working dog in some capacity.
Yes.
Hunting dog.
Yeah. Sheepdog. Yep. So just again, for even more context, Josh has done training for general population, training people's dogs at their homes, but he's also done working dogs as well. So that's what he's talking about. And Josh has a bit more experience in the working dog side of things, and he enjoys doing that more as well. Yeah. So it's almost like when I was a personal trainer, only training athletes comparatively to training general pop. It's super specific, or it's just everybody else.
Yep.
And so like me, I've got 2 dash hounds. Josh has given me some ideas on how to train them. They're pretty shit still, but that's probably a reflection of me more than anything. They kind of know how to shake. That's about it. And sit down. They don't listen to Tegan very much. When we let him in, we had to kick him out a few times and then make him come back in.
It's because she's too easy on him.
No, maybe. Okay. So, well, she hasn't been, and I'm the asshole because I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. Get out, dog.
Yeah, because you're making them reset. It's not about like causing them pain. It's about resetting the exercise, setting them back in time from their desired goal. So at any point, like, so say it's like I want to come inside. And
that is the goal. They want to come inside.
It's like I want to come inside. Is it I want to sit on the couch?
Yes.
It's something like that, or
both.
Okay, let's use a dinner bowl example. All right, so your dog, you know that your dog is like really motivated to get to the food. Okay, so it's already starting to act impulsive if you haven't really conditioned it to understanding that you have to do more than use impulsive thoughts in the lead up to this event. So dogs will chain behaviors together, and they chain little pictures together which reliably predict what is going to happen next, and we do it as human beings as well. So at a certain time they'll get a feeling, and then it's like mum gets off the couch, is like, is this it? And then they might start to act a little bit more energetic or erratic than they normally would. There's a lot of people ask me, they're like, oh, my dog just goes crazy at dinner time. And I'm like, it's probably because you're putting the food in the bowl, and then they're hyped up just doing spinny circles, and then you put the food down.
That's like Cedric to a T.
Yeah. So you're not making the dog control its impulses. You're not making it think through the problem. It's like excitement, which is manifesting in a physical behavior of it spinning around in circles, and then it goes, that got me the win because they put the food on the ground.
So then my very limited training ability and patience for them is I get off the lounge, they get super excited, and then they'll go to the door and I'll stop them at the door, I'll open the door, I will go through, I'll say wait, then I'll get them to come through, close the door, Sadie goes on her side, Cedric goes on his side. I close the gate so that they're separated because Cedric will eat her food, the little guts. And then I get their food ready. And lately what I've been doing is I've been putting Cedric's down. I make him give me a handshake on both paws, although he freaking hates it.
Yeah.
I'll make him sit and wait. And then I'll go put Sadie's down, do the same thing with Sadie. I make her do a bit more because she's a lot smarter and she does a lot more. So like I'll change which hand she's got to shake. She's very good at it. She's very clever. And then I'll put it down and I'll go yes to both of them. And they both
that's awesome. That's good. So that doesn't sound like Cedric's spinning circles at all.
He does before we go out there.
Okay.
And then getting in there and then he gets real whiny. He's like,
because he's trying to cap his impulses. But at least you've gotten it to that point. See, like most dog owners that I deal with on a sort of weekly basis, they don't even have that down. And that's not a slight on them. They just don't understand what's required to make the dog think in a different way than it does. Like, because to the dog, it's not doing it deliberately to annoy you. It's literally just, this is how I've got success in the past, so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it harder and harder and harder each time because nothing changes. You know, that's what gets me the reward or the success.
Because that's what they think.
100%.
Yeah, they don't realise.
They don't think it. Yeah. They don't think that what you want them to do is like be in a drop position, maintain eye contact with them, and don't look at the bowl until you're given that release cue to go and get it. Because they haven't been taught it. How can you be expected to know how to fly a helicopter if you've never even, you know, stepped foot in one?
Yeah.
That's a stupid analogy, but, you know,
on
some level, I guess it works.
Yeah, very complex. But yes. So what would you like it to ask me? And so first of all, we're going to ask the default ChatGPT 3.5 because it has less inputs, and then we'll ask number 4 because I've got the paid version, and the paid version should be better, but we can comparison the two.
Okay, so if you asked it, how do you train a dog, how much information do you think it would give you? Can you like...
It'd give you a paragraph, and it'd be like, first you should do this, and it'd probably give us about 5 or 6 points. I would suggest being more specific, like how to train a dog to sit.
Okay.
Or something along those lines. Yeah. Give me something like that, because I think that would be a better...
Okay. So one of the things that a lot of people I've found struggle with is getting their dogs to socialise well with other dogs.
Okay. So...
From an early age, from like...
So how to train a puppy to socialise with other dogs?
Yep.
How do you spell socialise? Because I'm bad at spelling.
I think it's Socialise.
Socialise, yep. How to train a puppy to socialise with other dogs at 8 weeks. We're just going to say 8 weeks because, again, that's super specific.
It'll probably be like, you shouldn't do it until 16 weeks.
All right. It's given us a lot. I'm just going to let you, because I'm a bad reader.
That's okay.
But so it's given us, what, 8 steps?
Yep. So it's given us 8 steps for 6 steps for an 8-week-old puppy. So number 1, start with familiar dogs. Introduce your puppy to dogs that you know and trust, such as those belonging to family and friends. Absolutely tick. 100%. Dogs that you know the temperament of, that don't have other problems with other dogs. You don't want to be taking your dog straight away to
the dog park. Yeah, with randoms, yeah.
Number 2, use positive reinforcement. Reward your puppy with treats and praise when they exhibit good behaviour around other dogs. Absolutely. 100%. Number 3, supervise interactions. Keep a close eye on your puppy's interactions with other dogs and intervene if necessary. If your puppy starts to show signs of fear or aggression, remove them from the situation. No. I wouldn't. If the dog is displaying signs of being aggressive or too much for the other dog, then absolutely. But if a dog is fearful, you do not want to take it away from that environment. You want to, like, people, that isn't explained well enough.
Okay.
People will then pick the dog up.
So they reinforce a bad behaviour.
Well, you're reinforcing a state of mind.
Okay, sorry.
That the dog should be fearful.
Yes.
And then the dog then they can become reliant on you to solve their problems in a lot of ways, like taking them away from that. And it's not conducive to a dog that knows how to regulate its emotions and behaviour in a somewhat stressful environment. You know, so what I would do is, if you know that the dog isn't enjoying the interaction because one of the other dogs is being a bit too invasive, of a bit of a space invader, I would get the other person that owns that dog to put in a little bit of distance where our dog hasn't moved, the one that's fearful and aggressive, but it can still observe that other dog moving around. You know, so whether that other dog is on leash and it's a meter or 2 away, but we want to wait for the stress of that dog to de-escalate, and then we can recontinue with the activity. We don't want to take the dog away from that situation, because then it's going to create a further problem. Because you take that dog away, it goes to sleep, it consolidates that thought of, that was scary, but mum helped me. You know, and the way that I got out of that situation was by being anxious. Okay? That's how I would do it. People are going to shoot me down, because that's the nature of dog training. 4, gradually increase exposure. Absolutely, like we were just talking about. So once your puppy is comfortable around familiar dogs, gradually introduce them to new dogs in a controlled environment. Now that's important controlled environment. So a lot of people wouldn't really put 2 and 2 together. Well, it's a harder maths equation than 2 and 2. A dog park or a puppy class can be a good place to start. Puppy class, absolutely. I advocate for everybody that come to me and they're like, oh, we've got a young dog. And I'm like, have you enrolled in a puppy class? It's like, I would much rather them go and do that than them give me the money. It's because I don't have the resources to be able to get 8 dogs together. 8 puppies of the same sort of age, and have an environment where no other dogs are going to come into the picture to, skew things or throw another dog out. Everybody can sort of work at their own pace. Puppy classes, you find a good one with good staff, it's the best place to learn how to socialize your dog properly, because those are other puppies as well. Sometimes the instructors will have really, really solid and sound dogs that your young dogs can go and be around and learn from good mentors, like good mentor dogs. But it's always going to be controlled in the right way. I would always, always, always advocate, and it doesn't work out as well for some people depending on the breed of dog, depending on your expectations and stuff. But I would always implore that people go and explore the option of...
So I have a personal experience with that with Sadie, and it was a detrimental experience for me personally because of the people involved, not the dogs.
Okay.
Because what had happened was there was Sadie with myself, there was another lady with a whippet, and then there was a family with 2 cavoodle sort of thingies. And they had 2 kids. Both kids were 10, 11, and they were in there. So there's 4 of us. We're in a glass cage in the back of a pet store, not naming any names. And the lady that was trying to instruct us was giving us all instructions. My problem was with the kids, because they were just forever talking, talking to their dog and stuff like that, and it was a bad experience in that regard.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of young children as well. Like, the attention span isn't...
So they'd just always be calling their dog. They'd always be calling their dog, just for the entire 40 minutes. Because their dog would just be doing dog things, right? Because it was a puppy. And they'd be, and then they'd be getting up, and then the instructor was trying to be like, hey guys, let's just sit down. And they weren't paying attention either. So it was like she had to babysit 2 children, 4 dogs, and... Yeah,
so already it's too much.
Yeah.
So how many dogs you say? 4. All right. So I wouldn't have any more than, say, 2 or 3 initially to start with, okay? Especially if it's a dog that your dog doesn't know, I would get it used to, one at a time. I always talk about dog training like a pyramid, all right? You have to have a really solid foundation before you can get to put that last pebble on the top, okay? So a dog that has experience learning from other dogs that it's familiar with, and we've done that time and time again over the course of maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then we decide to introduce it to dogs it doesn't know, you're always going to want to start out with 1. That's what I mean by a controlled environment. Make it as controlled as you possibly can. Not an ideal environment to have young children where they're going to throw off that balance of,
And they were excited, I get it, and they were happy. There was also other dogs. There was my dog, there was a whippet. They were really cool. Everyone's like, oh my God, dogs. And then and then the mum's she's standing on the edge sort of telling them what to do as well. So there's just voices. So it's great for a stimulation test, but it was an overstimulation.
Yeah.
I was almost losing my shit I was 30, and I was about to fucking scream at these kids.
And so you think about that from your perspective, and oftentimes it's harder for a dog, where if they haven't been subject to an environment that's anything like that at all, you can't expect much from them because they're just they don't have the experience there yet. So it has to be more controlled than that. Now, I understand it from a business perspective. You're trying to get your bang for your buck where you've got 4 people involved. It seems... How big was the space?
Man, it was tiny. It was it was probably as big as this carpet. And so they put us in each a corner. So for reference, this is 3 meters by 2.5 meters. Yeah, they put us in a corner each. They had a little chair. It was COVID times as well. And they had it was glass pool fencing. Yeah. And there was a lady in the middle, and she had heaps of toys. And it's we're going to practice this, we're going to practice that. But it was mayhem. Okay. And there was leads everywhere, and there was dogs everywhere, obviously. And and they just, they're pissing their shit, and it's a crazy time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not to say, there are some puppy preschools or puppy schools or whatever that do a really good job of it. You know, can't advocate for any of them. You know, I've just seen and spoken to some people, and I've been and visited and watched what they do. It was like, do I work for this? But I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know, but they had it down, and it was really good. And they had different levels that you progressed to and stuff like that.
That's
and,
good.
You know, there was a lot of space. But what this person had done was they got permission off a high school, and so they used different areas of the high school for different places.
Oh, that's clever.
With that and how you're talking about like a confined room, so noise is an issue immediately because it's like loud in there, it's echoey. Like there isn't anywhere to escape to. So if your dog is, you know, being like sort of ruckus, like disruptive, you need to be able to move away from it a little bit so that it can observe other dogs from a further distance. Okay, so it's like, you know, the balloon's filling up, it's like too much, and eventually it's going to burst. You need to figure out a way that you can take the dog, still be in that environment where it's exposed to the stimulus that you want it to be exposed to, but it's nowhere near as intense and provocative.
So like learn from afar.
Yes, and then once it starts to develop the skills of being able to regulate its emotions and behaviour, then you can bring it closer, and then you can test it and trial it. And not all dogs are going to be the same at that.
Of course.
Not all people are going to learn at the same speed or the same way. You know, but it's a really good way. It's the best way of introducing your dogs to other dogs if, you know, it's done in the right way, in my opinion. Where were we up to? So we just covered off on 4. So 5, teach basic commands. Teaching your puppy basic commands such as sit, stay, and come can help you control their behaviour around other dogs. Now, people go, well, this is a lot of talk about dogs, but I'm going to try and speed through it really quick.
The thing is, and this is the interesting aspect of AI, and this is what I wanted to talk about, and I want to now then use number 4, like ChatGPT 4, to see if there's a difference. But it's good though, because that is so, like, can Josh be replaced by ChatGPT? No.
100% I probably could be. If it went into further depth, but
that's what we're proving right now.
There's also a human element. Until they get to a point where they can get a robot that's got the AI loaded into it, which I don't think is
like a T-8000 sort of style.
What's that?
It's Terminator.
A Terminator. Yeah. Okay.
There's Arnold Schwarzenegger, the T-800.
Save humanity.
Yeah. So, but it trains a dog.
Yeah, he's able to multitask. You'd hope that an AI could do that, but until you get that, because there's theory. It's just like anything, John.
And this is what it's telling us. Yeah, theory right there.
You can, but it's being vague in a lot of points.
So let's
and specifically number 5, teach basic commands. So, okay, if you go into trying to teach your dog how to sit when it's got what I would consider a high level distraction of another dog it doesn't know, you're setting yourself up for failure. You need to be able to do that first off in a very low distraction environment. It's like we were talking about, build that pyramid, then we go the steps up, and then eventually you can go into the CBD and you can tell your dog to drop there and it'll maintain that position for 5 minutes. That's a pretty good... If you can get your dog to do that without being distracted, then you're a wizard. But you don't get there unless you've built that solid foundation. And what that is, it starts off preferably at a very young age that you've had the dog, and then you work it in a situation where there aren't a lot of distractions, and you're able to effectively teach the dog how it has to think, and then you slowly introduce other distractions. So, like, say it's a dog that your dog doesn't know, it's at a distance of 40 meters away at a park, but you've already started training the dog in those things that you want it to know at that specific park without other dogs there. And that's not always possible.
Yeah.
Because you can't control the interactions or what other people do. But if you can... Like, that's why puppy schools are great, because oftentimes they give you access to space and one-on-one coaching if you need it. You know, to be able to teach your dog, like, and they'll tell you, go home, practice this at home, you know, do the sits at home, do the drops at home, and then introduce, like, different distractions and then rewarding with different things like a ball or, you know, food or, you know, just the release command or whatever. But, you know... It's right. It's just vague.
Yeah.
Because if people went straight off this and they're like, I'm going to take my dog to the park. There's going to be a heap of distractions around and I can't figure out why my dog's not listening to me. Then you set yourself up for failure. All right. You know, so it's not there yet.
Okay.
Not this version of it anyway.
Okay.
Number 6, be patient. Absolutely. Socializing your puppy takes time and patience. 100%. Don't rush the process and always remember to keep it positive and rewarding for your puppy. Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
So that's...
So now, is it done? So
it's
then,
done.
So now what I'm going to do is, so that was 3.5, so I'm going to turn it up.
So I'm half redundant.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. New chats. 4. So 4 is better, and so I'm going to give it the exact same question of how to train a puppy to socialize with other dogs at 8 weeks.
Yep.
So it gave us 6 points.
Yep.
So it is. I'm just going to wait, and it's automatically giving us a lot more.
How many points?
So far, it's only done because it's slower, but it's gone with. It's up to its 3rd point, but each point I can already see is longer because the first one was just a sentence, and now this one it goes into a lot more depth. So it's touching on the exact same points. Includes vaccinations and stuff like that. It's got 6. It's got 7. So it's going into a lot more depth. It's already up to 8.
Before we even continue, like you just wait for that. So I'm going to talk about the critical learning period for dogs. That's what I call it. That 8 to 16 week. Like most people aren't going to get a puppy before 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes do. I have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I got Loco when she was 6.5 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
That was a dog who displayed independence and wasn't hanging out with the mum anymore. It was just she was just super independent. And
Loco doing Loco.
Loco doing Loco things. And she's great with kids. She's great with other dogs. But it's good genetics, good breeding as well. But most people aren't going to get their dogs until 8 weeks, sometimes later. If you take a dog and you don't do anything with it for that 8 to 16 week mark, you're setting yourself up for failure. I don't care what anybody says. And vets will always cover their ass and say, don't take your dog out in public until it's got all its shots until after 16 weeks.
Yeah, it's very important to clarify that.
Now, this is not advice, okay? This is just what I have known.
So this is an opinion.
This is an opinion.
An opinion.
Okay? This is not to be taken as advice.
So don't sue us, all right?
Yep.
Looking at you.
That's a disclaimer. I think that's all you have to do for a disclaimer. But in saying that, if that's what you do, you can expect to hit a heap of snags when you eventually do take your dog out after 16 weeks. Because that is such an important time in the dog's foundational learning of what the world is, that if you don't do it and you don't expose it to things, it will struggle. For the most part, it will, unless it's got really strong genes and what I call strong nerve, and nothing phases it. And 9 out of 10 dogs that you come across that, being bred for pet purposes, they're just not going to cut it. It's not going to bode well. But you've followed the advice of veterinarians who say, don't do it until you get your dog vaccinated until 16 weeks.
And that's for kennel cough. That's for parvo. That's
parvo.
Yeah.
The dog can still get parvo even if it's fully vaccinated.
Yes.
Can still get it.
And I can understand the thinking behind it. Yes, we want to try and keep our dogs safe. However,
but what you're doing is detrimental to the dog overall. So it's a balancing act.
Yes.
So what I would do, I wouldn't take it to all of the public places, even though I do with my dogs. Haven't had a dog die yet. Out of
we can arrange.
How many dogs?
We can arrange that.
No.
That's a joke. That's a joke, people.
But for service dogs, in terms of policing and military and stuff like that, search and rescue dogs that I've trained up.
You would have trained heaps. From puppies.
Well over 40 or 50 from puppies. All of those dogs, day one, let them settle in, depending on how they're going. But the first week they're out. And some of the things that I'll do with an 8-week-old pup who's a working dog, train stations are great. Heaps of foot traffic, different noises, loud noises, just a heap of stimulus. And then dogs by, the 12-week mark, they just cruise through life.
Water off a duck's back.
Water off a duck's back because nothing phases them. And then you see dogs that don't do that sort of stuff, and then, a car drives past.
The dog that was scared of the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You come across so much like this, and then it's like heaps and heaps of counter conditioning, and people don't have the time to do it because it takes so long to do.
To unlearn
that concreted behaviour. It's completely changing the neural pathways of that dog. And a lot of it is exposure therapy, and a lot of it comes from feeding schedules and stuff like. So when you're out and about, that's when it gets its food and stuff, and it doesn't really get food
like a traditional like dinner or breakfast.
Yeah, it doesn't get it.
Yeah, it gets it from you. You've got the food.
Yeah, and its behaviour dictates when it gets certain things. So that you're trying to change the way that the dog perceives certain situations. So, say a dog's got a serious aversion to cars.
Doesn't like cars.
Doesn't like it. So you're walking on the footpath, car goes past, and it tries to back out of the lead. It runs and just runs. That's its way of nullifying the situation and getting away from it. We don't want it to do that. We want it to not be fazed by the cars at all. So what you would do is build it up slowly. So you've got your pyramid. You'd have to get someone to drive a car very slowly, and then food. Make sure the dog's really hungry. Food. Okay? And then the dog starts to hear a car, like this. There's a lot of water that has to go under the bridge before you get to the point where the dog is completely neutral to cars. But you want the dog to anticipate that when it hears a vehicle coming, that a positive association is coming with it.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So it's getting food.
The potential is there for food.
I see. All right, so it's given us 10 points, and they're all in-depth. So maybe you just brush over them quickly.
I'm just going to... I'll try and do it as quickly as I can.
But I think we've covered it off pretty in-depth, which is good. But it will be interesting to see what you think of a 3.5 to 4. So 4 is I think 10 times better, more inputs.
Okay, so how many?
It's got 10 points.
10 points.
And one of them is to hire an expert of
10-point plan. Michael Scott. When he goes to the...
It's not Seinfeld, I don't give a shit.
Number 1, start at home. Correct. Before introducing your puppy to other dogs, make sure they are comfortable in their own environment. Awesome answer. This includes getting used to different sounds, smells, and textures. Create a positive atmosphere where your puppy feels safe and secure. Awesome. That's really good. Number 2, vaccinations. Ensure your puppy is up to date with vaccinations before exposing them to other dogs. Consult your veterinarian for advice on the appropriate vaccination schedule and when it is safe to start socializing.
I think that's covering its ass.
Yeah.
What's covering its ass?
ChatGPT doesn't want to fucking get sued by the world.
That's fair.
3, use positive reinforcement. Reward your puppy with treats, praise, and affection whenever they display appropriate behaviour around other dogs. This will help them associate positive experiences with interacting with other dogs. Really good comprehensive answer. Number 4, begin with controlled introductions. Start by introducing your puppy to 1 or 2 other dogs that are known to be friendly. And
that's fucking what you said.
Keep those interactions brief, controlled, and positive. Always supervise playtime and intervene if necessary to prevent any negative experiences. 5, enroll in puppy classes. Puppy classes offer a controlled environment for your puppy to interact with other dogs of a similar age and size. These classes also provide essential training and socialization opportunities under the guidance of a professional dog trainer. Number 6, visit dog-friendly places. Take your puppy to dog-friendly parks, pet stores, or local events where they can observe and interact with other dogs. Always keep your puppy on a leash and maintain control of the situation. Remember to go at your puppy's pace and avoid overwhelming them. Absolutely, that's a really good answer too. 7, encourage calm behaviour. When introducing your puppy to other dogs, encourage calm and relaxed behaviour. Avoid tense or overly excited interactions as they can lead to negative experiences. Very good. Number 8, monitor body language. Learn to recognise the signs of fear, aggression, or discomfort in both your puppy and other dogs. If you notice any negative body language, calmly remove your puppy from the situation. Anyways, we'll continue. 9, be patient and consistent. Socialization is an ongoing process that requires patience and consistency. Continue to expose your puppy to new experiences and other dogs regularly, even as they grow older. Number 10, seek professional help if needed. If your puppy is consistently fearful or aggressive towards other dogs, consult a professional dog trainer or a veterinary behaviourist for guidance. Good. You put that in like one of those MIT robots that can like walk on ice and you can push it over and get back up again. I'm redundant.
You mean the Boston ones? The
Boston, yeah. MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess, well, we got to be careful then. Well, you got to be careful.
So now we talk about what we actually hear today, AI and how you think, because all we can do is guess at this point.
So that is a perfect example of 3.5 to 4 in someone who has over 7 years of hands-on experience. It just took Josh 7 years to learn what you've learned. Yep. It spat that out in 30 seconds.
So that's taking all of the knowledge that it has on the internet and correlating it into what it believes is the best answer. And it's good. It's great. And so the more that it gets down to it, the more it'll be able to deliver it better than I can because I'm limited by my stupid human brain.
Yeah. And so the big thing that limits the AI is your input. If we asked it better questions, it would give us better answers. We tried to do a sort of 3.5 versus 4 just to sort of see, and you can see the difference, right?
Yeah.
It gives a big difference. And it's very interesting. But then we go down the rabbit hole of like, is AI actually good or bad, or what could this lead to? And when AI first came out, they talked a lot about how it's going to get rid of a lot of creative types of roles because people were using it for art. They were using it for emails.
It's won art contests.
Yes, yes, it has.
AI programs have that. So someone has used an AI generated image. They've entered it into an art. This was somewhere in America.
I remember. Yeah.
And to me, that is like that's a bad thing.
Yes.
Because art for me is something that's like uniquely. Like, it has to have human expression. Like, you have to know that what's behind it, there's human emotion and feeling.
There's a reason that they've done it.
There's a reason.
Yeah, they've done it for a certain,
It's not just like, I'm going to correlate all the data. I know what appeals to most people and what, what people are going to find pleasing, and I'm just going to...
On the internet, they say this is popular. I'm going to do a rendition of that.
And I mean, there was the example that I'm thinking of. It was awesome to look at.
Yes, it was.
I'm like, far out, man. And like you say about music.
So there was the example of Kanye West. And so a guy used AI to replicate Kanye West's song and then made it sing a certain song, used it to generate lyrics, to then also sing it in Kanye West. And it was very, like if you closed your eyes, you'd probably think it was him because it was very good. Because he has got so much out there to sample, it was able to sample him very well.
Yeah. And like the more that we go on with this and the more it learns, like, or people train it, or that's what they say, or it learns how to be better. Like I saw this video the other day. It was like pirate music, and it was a video of Donald Trump like catching like squid and octopi or octopuses. He
was catching more than one, so octopi,
and it was like, holy shit, that's like, okay, it sort of looked clunky, but I was like, wow, it's you can just explain to it that, and it's like pumping out like a 3-minute video of like Donald Trump like getting octopus out of the ocean and like
You sure it wasn't him?
Mate, if you saw it, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's definitely like, that's a fever dream.
Fair.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
But it's going to get crazy, man.
Well, they often say this is the worst it's ever going to be. So it's only going to get better. Only going to get better. That's what they say.
Like, for my small brain and, it scares me a bit.
Why?
Because, like, where does it stop? Like, I keep thinking back to, and I know this is a movie and we're big Jurassic Park fans.
Oh, yeah.
But, what's his name? Jeff Goldblum's character, Malcolm, I can't remember. Anyway, and he talks about, in one of the later ones, he's like... just because
you
were too busy thinking about if you could, you didn't worry about whether you should.
Yeah.
And I've done a terrible job paraphrasing that just then, but like I think this is one of those things. It's a Pandora's box where you can't put it back in.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the sicknesses of humanity is like progress for progress's sake. I don't get it. You know, yes, it may help with a lot of things in terms of like medical advancements and if it got people out of poverty, if it got the world out of poverty, then that's already an awesome thing. But I don't think, I think that people will control it. The people, like powerful people, will control it. It won't be used. I don't think that it will be used
in a humanitarian way.
In a humanitarian way. I think that it will be, I am fearful that it will be used to further control people, like to, like think of the jobs that it's going to take away.
Yes.
Like, and people make the argument, okay, so when the steam engine came in, when it was way back early, 1900s or whatever it was, it put a lot of people out of work.
Yes.
Like, labour changed forever and new jobs were created. But what are these new jobs? What are new jobs in the generation, in the wake of AI?
So the interesting things I have seen...
Because just quickly, what it just did then in terms of like how to socialise your dog, it can give a way better answer than I can because it's not limited to like, have I slept well that day, that night before, how am I feeling that day? Is my brain foggy?
Have you had a good meal?
Yeah, it's better than me.
And that was 30 seconds.
Yep.
You've taken over 7 years to be able to say, yes, that is a good example.
It doesn't have the human element of dealing with, like, because a lot of times when you're, like, I've always said, like, being a dog trainer is sort of like being a therapist for the owners of the dog in a lot of ways, because they're so fed up a lot of the times that it's understanding how to interact and coach that person through their fear and anxieties as well, so that it doesn't impact the dog and they can both be raised up and live happily ever after. There isn't a reason to say that an AI couldn't do that. Like, eventually. You say 25 years down the track, that it would have grasp.
To be honest, it'd probably be a lot quicker.
For sure it would.
Not 25 years, like 2.5 years.
Yeah, true. That's what it's like, and like I said, the small-brained me goes, haven't there been movies made about this shit?
Many.
Yeah.
And I mentioned one earlier, Terminator,
iRobot,
Skynet, and it never ends well. Never ends.
And that's why when I get scared when someone like Elon Musk has penned a letter that all of these other scientists, and people involved in technology have signed as well, that go, we need to put
the brakes on.
We need to slam the brakes on this.
Yeah,
man.
and we need to. They said that for 6 months we need to stop. We need to put the brakes on for 6 months and
set up some sort of framework that everybody works within, so that who's to say like that. And my mind automatically goes, that's the future of warfare right there.
Yeah,
like that's like, look at those. I remember the first time I ever saw one of those MIT robots that can jump over fucking big walls and you push it over it, like weaponize those things. You can't kill it with a gun. Well, you could probably destroy it with like artillery, but if it's got a supercomputer for a brain, like.
But then, interestingly, you've seen the Fat Electrician, the guy that does those videos. He does one specifically on them trying to use AI, and this was a couple of years ago, about trying to be like more effective than soldiers, and they used Marines as the example. And the job of the Marines was to get from a certain point where they, like the start point, to be able to get to it without being either detected and then or destroyed. And I'm again butchering it. Go watch the Fat Electrician video. And the Marines fuck with it hard. One of them gets a box, it gets into a big box, like a fridge box, and then runs up to it because it can't compute that.
Yeah, but that's like this. That's the start of it.
Yeah. And then one guy does like cartwheels, and it doesn't act like a normal person.
Yeah, and so that's what it's programmed and trained to do now.
Yes,
but like we're saying, what if this is just a free-for-all, and knowing humans and people in the fields of developing technology, it's a race, man. It's who can get there first.
Who can get to the moon first?
Who can get the money first. And I don't think there's a lot of thought for what are the detrimental aspects of what this brings to the table.
Yes.
Like I said, man, I fully acknowledge the fact that I am not at the level that these people are. But it worries me that this isn't being spoken about probably more.
Or and that they are saying it. They not just one, not just two, like hundreds, thousands. I think it was over 1,000 penned this letter, right?
Then why is it still going? Is what I want to.
Because Google's behind it now. Google's got their own. They're doing their own AI. They acquired something. I can't remember exactly what, but there's big money behind it.
Yeah.
It's tech money, and then the government is too slow to catch up because it's like, how do you legislate something that didn't exist last year or whatever? That the government is too slow, and they'll have to go through the they have to go through all the different houses and get votes and, oh, no, now I want to do this and that. And it takes too long.
Yeah. Okay. So say 20 years goes by and this is, we don't know on what trajectory that it could literally go, this little experiment that is humanity is fucking horrible. And then just go, well, I'm going to, this is it may sound stupid, and then it's like, I'm just going to fucking launch all the nukes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Skynet does in...
Oh, really? I haven't seen Terminator.
Okay, so that is exactly Terminator. So the whole process is they create Skynet, and Skynet is a defense system, and then it becomes self-aware, and then it sees the humans as the problem, so it just nukes them all. Okay. And then its entire job is to just eradicate humans. And that's where, the T-800s come in, which is the Arnold ones, and then there's the T-1000s, which is the one that can melt through. And then they go back, they start the time travel stuff, and that's where the time travel stuff, and they're trying to change the future. But in the grand scheme of things, they can't stop Skynet. Skynet always happens because it then goes through to the internet and stuff like that, and it's unstoppable. So even through time travel, they go back to the 80s and they can't stop it.
So what happens in the end of all the Terminator movies?
There's just it's a forever post-apocalyptic world where it's humans are hiding from sentient killer robots, and they're being captured and then killed.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
There was a Black Mirror episode about that too.
Which one?
Oh, it's ones where there's these little robot dogs. They don't have heads like dogs or anything, but they're it's a post-apocalyptic world where robots just roll around trying to kill people because they're that's what the AI has programmed itself to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because you wonder if an AI couldn't make its own AI, and say we give AI rules. What if this AI becomes smart? I don't know if this works, but could it make its own AI and then make build itself smarter, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that AI makes another AI, just a better version.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely, and ways that it can prosper better and make jobs and tasks more effective until it would just keep going.
Yeah, and it's not tethered by, like you say, our needs, desires, all that sort of nothing. No,
it just goes, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I've decided.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? It's just
do you think
can of worms, man.
Do you think it has benefits?
I think that it definitely could. Like I said, if it were able to eradicate poverty in some way, or at least close the gap between people that live in third world nations to what we experience in life.
So make everywhere a first world nation.
Well, ideally, I don't know if that's what people want. It depends on your idea of happiness. I would say those people that we saw in Nepal, even though they probably live in what would be considered a third world country, they're probably a lot happier than 9 out of 10 people here in Australia. I consider those people lucky in a lot of ways where they were born, and the lives that they live.
Yeah.
You know, drop them here and their fucking heads would probably melt.
Yes.
Know? But yeah, man, AI is something that I think about a lot.
Mm.
And I can't control it, so why am I worried?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Maybe you should ask AI how you feel about it.
I have. It just comes up with, like, the Snapchat one is fucking stupid. Like, I'm using a swear word for it. Like, that's the only one I've used, and that's, like, again, highlighting my very limited knowledge of AI and its capabilities right now. I rely on your information a lot and things I read, which isn't always good. Things I read, I trust what you say because you seem to have a good grasp on it.
I've tried it a fair bit, that's why.
Yeah.
Because I've tried it to see what it can do.
Yep. But like the Snapchat one, I'm like, are you going to take over the world and, you know, and fucking kill me and my family? And it's like, no, like, I'm not going to do that. Like,
I don't think that one will, but other ones...
Not the Snapchat AI.
Yeah. But imagine if that is our downfall, because we've all got phones and then it just automatically downloads all to your phone and then it just like turns your phone into a little bomb and then just... Bleh.
Yeah.
I think we sort of finished that up anyway, but we could talk about AI forever, and I guess there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but
yeah,
unfortunately I don't think there's going to be a lot of good and there's probably going to be a lot of bad.
Yeah, man. Like, it is the new... Like, to me, and... You know, Elon Musk has said this a lot of times, where AI is potentially the new nuclear weapon threat, like more so than nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I can see that being a thing.
And you're just like, far out, man. That's not a dumb dude.
No,
you know.
No, and he's up there and he's in those circles and he knows sees a lot more than us Joe Blows, you know.
And if he's worried about and like. Okay, my critical mind goes, are you worried about it and you're trying to, like, make other people worried about it so that your company can be the one that, you know, is the pioneer and gets to the summit first?
Interesting.
So you're trying to, like, you know...
Manipulate it?
Manipulate manipulate it? Maybe.
Okay,
or,
interesting concept.
Or, like, I think that he's legitimately concerned.
Yeah, I'd say he's legitimately concerned.
And that's, I know. We'll put it out to the crowd.
And what a great way to finish this episode. It's been nice knowing you all. AI will come and kill us all.
R2D2 is going to come in here and rip John's dick off.
I guess if that's what it's
going to be.
Good night, everybody. I guess if that's what it's going to be, that's what it's going to be. All right, team.